What's up, everybody? It's Kendrick from Gaming Sauce. Joining me today is Todd Buffalino, Nick,
Hello.
and David Ackerman.
What's going on?
What's up?
All right, so we're going to get started with what we've been playing. David, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Smite this whole summer, ever since that alpha launched back in April, and the open beta recently opened as well to the public. I've been playing a lot of that with a bunch of my friends and by myself. What have you guys been playing?
Well, what do you think of Smite? Let's let's
Oh, you want to focus on Smite? What do I think of it?
for a minute at least.
A
For a
brief
minute?
description of what your thoughts are, sir.
My thoughts on Smite. It's a very competitive game. A lot of the people on there, they're very aggressive, but also a lot of the people I found are very friendly. And there tends to be a majority of the people on there happen to be either in the military, a stoner, between the age of 30 to 18, or all of the above. You know, somewhere in that range. They fit all the categories. And most people I met on there are very nice people. So that's my thought on it. And it's also very enjoyable game. You can lose yourself for hours. Like I've just been playing it for like 2 hours straight. And I mean, you can just lose yourself in it. It's a MOBA, so what do you expect?
Yeah.
All right.
One quick question I have on it. Do you feel like the controls translate well? As far as MOBAs being PC, does it feel good on a console?
What about you, Todd? What have you been playing?
He didn't hear you.
Well, Kendrick, why don't you ask your question again and we can try this one more time.
Oh, I gotta ask the question? Sorry,
No.
it froze and I didn't hear a question.
All right, so do you feel like the controls, as far as MOBA being a PC, do you feel like it translates well to the console?
Definitely for Smite, only because it's the third-person perspective. You know, camera over the back of the head of the god. You have, complete control, and the button prompts and everything's very smooth how it's laid out, and everything seems to work properly and function smoothly as far as I can tell. Now, I've never played another MOBA except for League, and I only played one match of League, and I didn't really enjoy that. But this is definitely a MOBA that console gamers can enjoy, as far as my opinion goes.
All right.
Yeah, Todd, what have you been up to, man?
Oh, well, because I decided I want to, I'm a glutton for punishment. I am going through the Master Chief Collection, all 4 campaigns on Legendary solo. So that's been an ass kicking, to say the least. But it's fun to be nostalgic for a little while and kind of getting prepared for Halo 5. So that is my testament this week.
Does it hold up for you? Does the nostalgia come back to you?
Yeah, and what they did to touch up the graphics, and it looks very good. I'm still in Combat Evolved, so I'm basically playing the Anniversary Edition of that. But it's been fun, and I'm back in my friend's living room playing co-op when I was, I don't know, 18 when that game came out first time. So it's been fun. How about you, Nick? What are you up to?
Time has been a little more limited this week than usual, but I've been playing Star Wars: The Old Republic on PC. I played it when it originally came out, back when it was the full-on membership model. As with most MMOs, once I hit a certain level, I kind of phase out and get bored. This time, though, I have a buddy at work that when we're on our downtime in between tickets on the weekends when it's dead, we just power through like 4 or 5 hours worth of missions. So we went from like I had a level 15, and we've gone from like 15 up to 36 right now in the last 3-4 weeks. Just work playing on Saturday and Sundays. Thus far, this time around, it's been awesome. They started this thing if you actually sign up as a member, despite it being free to pay. When you play class missions, like your actual storyline, it's 12x XP. So after a couple of them, you're power leveling. And I'm doing this in preparation for the expansion pack that launches in
October 19th or something like that.
Yep.
late
which I would
October.
get early access for because I have my membership on there.
Yeah.
It's as close as I'm going to get to a Knights of the Old Republic single player.
Remake. Yeah.
Especially the new expansion. Apparently, it's supposed to be a little more focused on the single player aspect with some multiplayer thrown in. So,
Hmm.
just trying to power through so I have a character ready to go.
Cool. Kendrick?
Yeah, so this week the big release was episode 5 of the Game of Thrones Telltale game, and it's freaking awesome. I think when it ends, when it's all over, this is going to be Telltale's best episodic game they've come out with. There's major decisions. Basically, you've had 5 playable characters this whole time, and what I'll tell you is you're down to 3. Whether they died, whether they went away for a little bit, you got to find out from that. But going into the last episode, you have 3 playable characters left. All the storylines are going to hit at one solid point, and I can't wait to see where it ends up. As far as if you guys, I don't know if you guys watch the show or anything, but basically knowing where the outside characters end up on the show and where they end up in the game, that's kind of impacting the decisions and the way they go. Because it's kind of like it doesn't want you to piss off a lot of people, but I know a lot of these people end up in like jail and stuff in the show in like season 6, so I'm not really worried about them. So that's kind of interesting how it factors in. It doesn't feel like there's a lot more on the line in that aspect, but it's going to be great when it ends. And what's great too is Tales of the Borderlands has 2 more episodes left, and that's awesome too. So they could top themselves in that aspect.
So you think it's better than season 1 of Walking Dead when they first came out with it?
Oh yeah, like hands down. From the first episode, they already had me. I knew it was going to be better than Walking Dead. Writing in it is on point. The decisions are way more traumatic than anything that Walking Dead did. So I think they've just been building higher and higher and higher. And we'll see what happens with Minecraft when they get to that. But I think Telltale's just building this high climb of great writing, great stories, and then the adventure game's fun. It's not dumb puzzles. It's fun. It's fun quick time events, basically.
Cool.
It's
They've
good
got a lot
playable.
of things actually on their plate.
They do.
Like, Minecraft is the biggest one they've got, I think, coming. That's actually got stuff attached to it. They also have a Marvel one, which we know nothing about, what it's going to be on, what it's going to entail. So I'm actually curious to see what they do with the Marvel property, whichever one that may be.
Yeah, that could be anything. I would want that to be a Deadpool game where he talks to you and makes fun of you for your decisions. Where it says in the top left, Deadpool, remember that? He looks up at the box and he's like, damn right I remember that. That was stupid.
That would be cool.
And then get Nolan North to voice him. It's not that hard. Nolan North will do it for you.
Yeah.
He loves that.
I would say get Ryan Reynolds to keep up with the Deadpool character that he's doing.
I'd agree too. I would love for the 2 of them to make a little animated film based off of it. Yeah, so that's what we've been playing. Let's start talking about our games for this fall. Nick, do you want to get us started on what will be the biggest game of 2015?
Well, the biggest game of 2015 is probably going to be hands down Fallout 4. I have no doubt that the dudes at Bethesda are going to have another game of the year on their hands with this one. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but during the E3 conference, I lapped up every last screenshot they showed, and I enjoyed every second of it. It, for me, was game of the show. There's lots of other honorable mentions probably for this fall. There's going to be some darn good games. This is probably one of the best years for games, despite the lack of exclusives per console in probably a long time. I mean, Metal Gear is going to be great. Witcher was great. Halo 5 is probably going to be a step in the right direction, especially with the missteps from Master Chief. Battlefront, which a lot of people have been waiting for, and Fallout, I mean, to me, is just, I can see myself losing myself in that game. I did with Fallout 4. Oh, God! And I'm going to do it again with Fallout 4. It's just too much to do, and oh my God, I've been waiting for it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. When I saw that announcement, and we all knew it was coming, but when I saw that announcement, I told my wife that she's basically losing her husband for at least a month when that game comes out.
Oh, a lot of people are. A lot of wives and girlfriends are going to be very angry when Fallout comes out.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. She'll be sitting on the couch next to me, and she is now, but she will be cranky, I'm sure, by the end of that game.
You'll see me on Thanksgiving. Make it a good meal. David, what do you think about Fallout 4?
I think that I'm going to lose my marbles when that game launches, especially a few months after launch when they add mod support. Just my head's just gonna explode. Because if you look at the modding community for Fallout 3, New Vegas, Skyrim, those three, because those are the three Bethesda games. Particularly, you look at Skyrim and the crazy stuff they can do with the Creation Engine. But if you go back to New Vegas, like I was talking about, there's two separate mods that I know of. One called Project Brazil, or something, or it's by people from Brazil. It's a project that takes you into Oregon. I know IGN reported on it. It's a huge map, completely bigger than the entire Mojave Wasteland. And then there's another one that I'm trying to remember the details on it, but from what I can remember, they're making it for Fallout New Vegas, and they want it to launch ahead of Fallout 4 because they were going to release it for sometime next year, but they don't want to launch a huge mod and then Fallout 4 to come out, and then to completely the whole community just misses it because it's a very story-driven mod. And if you look at that and the kind of crazy things people would be able to do with the Gamebryo engine and the original Creation Engine, I think that obviously we're not going to see anything like that for at least a year or two from the Fallout 4 community, but I mean, just think about that. The fact that the Creation Engine has gone so far and the skills and technical difficulties that they've been able to overcome now that they no longer have the Gamebryo engine is just going to be mind-boggling. Not even just for Bethesda themselves, but for the modding community itself.
Yeah,
Easy is just they're making it because Bethesda is going to be running it through their own site. So if the tools are easier and it's similar to something we see in Steam Workshop, then it's just going to be easier for them to get mods, and it's not going to take. It won't have to take them a year. They can come out with the first set of the mod in 7 months, keep adding on to it, and then from a year it's awesome.
Well, I just mean the fact that it would take a year or two for a number of different reasons, not just because of modders learning how to get a handle on the equipment, but because they have to pass all the checks and it has to be play tested significantly to make sure there's no game breaking or console breaking bugs, because Xbox and I know Sony for sure will not approve of any mod content. This is why they haven't ever done it before, unless it is 100% foolproof, cannot break the console, because that is a huge problem in the PC community. Is we have amateur modders release mods that completely just break people's games, corrupt saves, corrupt data, and there's no way Microsoft or Sony would be willing to risk that until it passes a number of different tests, and that's going to dissuade a lot of people from modding, and it's going to take some time for the modding community to get started because of that.
Yeah, when they announced the mods coming to Xbox at E3, it was not being a very big PC guy, so I don't really have a whole lot of experience. I'm curious to see what'll be out there, and just the fact that they're coming is impressive. Or that Microsoft is letting that happen. Has it been officially announced for Sony yet?
It's announced for everybody. It's just Xbox will be getting it first. It'll be Xbox, PC, then Sony will get the support because they have to work individually with the three providers.
Gotcha.
They kind of slid it under the table. It was like a little, story that after they had announced it, they're saying in interviews, yeah, PS4 will have it too, just a little bit later than what Xbox is. And I think it's easier for them to do with Xbox just because of the whole Windows 10 connection. So that could be another factor with PS4.
I also think that Microsoft has had a better relationship with Bethesda over the years than Sony.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Well, their
look at
games work
Fallout
on
3 when it hit on PlayStation.
Didn't work.
From what I've heard, that and Skyrim.
Yeah.
Backwards
Skyrim
Red?
I actually did play on the PlayStation 3, whereas Fallout 3 I played on Xbox 360, and there was
I heard it
quite
was-
a few
it was a-
bugs.
Yeah, it was a buggy mess. Yeah.
But at least they fixed it, and and I think now, I was a little worried initially. I almost went with the Xbox One version of the game. However, I went with the PlayStation.
What, for Fallout
Yeah.
4?
I did that namely because it's easier access for me. I can play it anywhere in my house because I have two, one upstairs, one
Yeah.
down. But Also, because I believe that the PlayStation 3 was a harder device to program for with the cell processor, and
Hmm.
PlayStation made it a big deal to make it easier to develop for. As we've seen, there's been a lot of people fighting over resolutions and different frame rates and whatnot between Xbox and PlayStation. So I think it'll be a solid release all around on all console or on all platforms this time, rather than the mixed mess we got that last generation.
Yeah, I
Another
wanted to. Oh, go ahead.
factor is going to be the bugs, and if there will be anything big. Like the biggest one that I can remember that affected me was in Fallout New Vegas. You could kill an enemy outside of Vegas before he gets in, and then there was a bug where if his hat wasn't in Vegas, it couldn't load Vegas.
Oh
So
yeah.
what I had to do was I had to go find the hat RNG in a little town, and I had to hold it in my inventory to get into the game. And then when they actually patched that, all they did was they glued the hat into a little corner of Vegas, and then it said that it was his hat, and you couldn't pick it up. And that's how they had fixed that bug. But that one, that couldn't let me get into the main area of the game. So I'm really hoping that they do a lot of. I think it was announced this week that it's gone gold. So I think
Actually,
now is when they get into bug testing and cert for the game.
I think it was
Really, they're going
yesterday they
gold
said the game has actually been done since they announced it, and they've just
back
been doing
in.
bug support and mild tweaks and upgrades and whatnot since
Oh
then.
yeah. Bethesda proper had to be working on this when
They've been working
Skyrim.
on it since Skyrim.
Yeah, when they were
Actually,
done
they
with
said they were
DLC.
working on it since
Since
Fallout
Fallout
3.
3. Technically, see what they do with their properties. Bethesda, is actually a lot of people do this as well. That's what Bungie did the same thing with Destiny after Halo 3. What they do is they make a major game release like Fallout 3, and then they start to have the majority of their resources focusing on the next one, which was Skyrim. But they always keep a team, a small dedicated team that's code named. So this is what Bethesda does anyway, and they have them working on it for a number of years until after the main project is done, and then that way they have a number of assets and resources and story and everything already completely ready to go for the main bulk of their people to start just jump right in and start doing some real hammer time work on it. That's how they're able to hammer out these major releases every 4 to 5 years, and they're quality releases.
They got a team that's drawing the map once the game launches. And right now, I'm sure they're working on Elder Scrolls 6 right now. I have no doubt about that.
Oh
There's
yeah.
a team now drawing the map up for Elder Scrolls 6, and they probably want to top the MMO. No doubt about that.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're probably going to try to do a whole you can go everywhere in Tamriel, same thing that ESO did, because I mean, after ESO does that, the Elder Scrolls community wants a real good Elder Scrolls game, because ESO is good, but it's not like on the par with Skyrim
Do
for
you
obvious
actually
reasons.
think they would stay in Tamriel, or do you think they'd expand somewhere outside of Tamriel? Because technically, you've got all of it right now. So why would you want to go back to another, back to a place in Tamriel, or
They'd
maybe
have to
anywhere
do
else
all of
again?
it. You'd have to do all of it just to get people to see that it's advanced more than Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah, see, I think what they would do is they would probably go with a another province and then add and say you have missions in Skyrim, you've got missions in Morrowind, you've got so you go to all the various places and then wherever this new settlement's going to be or whatever this new town is going to be.
Well, to touch on what he said about how maybe they'll leave Tamriel, I mean that's possible. It's not like there aren't places outside of Tamriel, because they could go to wherever the Akaviri are from, the samurai dudes, wherever they came from. They could try to delve into, because they've been like hinting at it and tweaking at it and talking about ever since Morrowind about the disappearance of the Dwemer. And in Morrowind, you actually get to meet the last of the Dwemer, and the Dwemer have been missing for like it's like hundreds or thousands of years or something like that. So they could even do a whole story about that, or maybe even that could be a quest of it. So it'd have to be like before the first era or whatever year they disappeared. So if they want to do the whole Tamriel thing and Discovery, and same with the aliens, because they died out and were conquered by the Imperials, that could be another storyline.
Well, I guess, well, since we're talking about Elder Scrolls, you guys think they'll come out with a new IP after Elder Scrolls 6, maybe?
I don't know.
New IP. I mean, they could just do a new IP right after this one, but I don't know what they would do because their Elder Scrolls and Fallout series are very well established now, and
See, I think what they may do is use Machine Games and id for their new IP. Let the not the newer with Wolfenstein and Doom, they can go, okay, you guys come up with something new, and we'll keep with the tried and true.
yeah, I'm sure. I have no doubt that they're already working on another Wolfenstein because Wolfenstein: The New Order was phenomenal game, hands down. It had no bugs with it, no problems with it. It was just amazing. And the old Blood was pretty good too. It wasn't as great as New Order, but it was still pretty good. And with Doom coming out, there's just huge emphasis on these old classic shooters being revived, and I feel like there's definitely got to be another Wolfenstein game coming, hands down.
Oh, and they've got Dishonored 2 coming out later.
Oh yeah, that too.
That's probably a 2017 game, but it's coming nonetheless.
Yeah. We actually we should talk about this right now. In the next couple of weeks, we have a lot of games coming out. Actually, surprisingly, I didn't even realize this. I know Dishonored Definitive Edition and Gears of War Ultimate Edition are coming out on August 25th. But even sooner than that, next week actually, next Thursday, I think we have Rare Replay coming. If you guys have been keeping your eye on that, I've already got that pre-ordered and paid off and ready to go. So I'm gonna play the fuck out of that one because I liked a lot of the Rare's old games, like Grab by the Ghoulies, and but I never played Battletoads, so I want to see what the fuss about that is.
Oh, that game's good. You ready for that?
Battletoads is insane, but I'm gonna step away for a quick minute, guys. I'm gonna use the restroom. I'll be right back.
Yeah, but Battletoads is like one of the worst games ever made because it's one of those NES. What do you want me to tell you? Like, you know what I mean? NES, like, poorly made game, you know what I mean?
I just know that it's really, really hard and punishing. That's all I know. That's all I know about it.
That one will be interesting, too, just to see how, like, this Perfect Dark works in there. I want to check some of those out.
Backwards compatible.
You get the X-ray sniper shot.
I can play Perfect Dark right now. I have the backwards compatible version of it. I just haven't felt the urge to jump into it. You know, I kind of wanted to see Rare do something new that wasn't Connect or
Sea of Thieves.
Shred.
Sea of Thieves. That's brand new and that's just completely fresh for them. They've never done anything like it.
Yeah. And
I'm actually interested in that one.
Part of me wants to see like a true Perfect Dark, not the Perfect Dark Zero kind of thing that happened. Something like they could push the limits. Like I think that series had a lot of longevity, at least for me back on the N64. And I think there's a lot more that could be tapped out of it as well. And it doesn't. It seems to me like Microsoft's been kind of clipping their wings a little bit. Now, granted, they're letting them do Sea of Thieves now, but how long have they had them? And how long has it been since something original came out? Like,
yeah, because they've been in Connect Prison, but I think that the people who want to make Perfect Dark are gone, to be perfectly honest. I think that everyone at Rare that could have made these old franchises has moved on.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about the developers that are still there and inside the studio to comment on that. I have no idea who's still there and who's not. So.
Well, what's the thing? They've got a lot of other developers. Why not break up some of those IPs and let some of the other developers take a crack at it?
I do know they're heavily diversifying their portfolio this year. I mean, for sure. And they've got a game that they have yet to reveal. That's a AAA title that's going to be coming out this year as well. And we're going to talk about that at Gamescom for sure. Because I know Phil Spencer said that. And then we still haven't seen any gameplay of Scale Down or the new Crackdown or what was that game that came out or that I could come out, but they showed at E3 the Recore, right?
Yeah, Recore.
Haven't seen anything on that either. So I mean, Gamescom is just prime for Xbox this year, and Sony is just is skipping it this year. Now, I'm not necessarily what you would call a fanboy of Microsoft, because I had a PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 when I was a little kid. I loved PlayStation games. I loved Spyro, Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter. Naughty Dog is one of my favorite developers from the Sony branch. But I really feel like Sony is not giving their 100% for 2015 as far as their first-party lineup going. Now, some people use the excuse or reasoning that they don't really need to have a strong first-party lineup because the third-party lineup is so heavy this year. But that's kind of a poor excuse as to why they're not having a huge influence on this year. And the games that they did show at E3, like the Final Fantasy Remake, which is a third-party game, it's not exclusive to them at all, except for like they're doing like a whole Tomb Raider deal where it's exclusive for a year, probably. It's not coming out for several years. Last Guardian, I didn't feel too strongly about that. I didn't really feel like it hit any marks for me, and that's not coming out for a year or two either. Horizon looks really cool, but that's also not coming out for a year or two. I mean, just all these games that they did show that were exclusive are not coming out for several years. And I just really feel like they're leaving Sony people in the dust as far as first parties for this year.
I think that they blew their load early, and then that created a Microsoft monster, that's Phil Spencer, that's green-lighting all these first-party games because he wants to blow them out of the water, and that's exactly what happened. Because the only thing that interests me with Sony is Uncharted. And Horizon looks cool, but that won't be here for a year. And we'd have to see what their other studios are doing, but they're not going to announce that at Gamescom. You probably won't hear about it.
They said they're skipping Gamescom altogether, so...
Yeah, but I mean, as far as Sony not having a strong first-party lineup, it seems like this generation's mirroring last generation, where Sony had the strong first-party lineup with the Uncharted and The Last of Us and all the other stuff, but no one really cared because none of those are console movers. Can you really say that you saw a Recore and you go, okay, I want to buy an Xbox One for that? You know, I mean...
I think Halo 5 and Gears of War, those are console movers. And Tomb Raider is definitely a console mover because I have a lot of friends that are getting an Xbox. They're upgrading to the Xbox One because they're such huge Tomb Raider fans. And they saw the footage and think, this is awesome. This is what Tomb Raider should be. This is actually going back to the roots of the Tomb Raider franchise, of actually exploring tombs and adventuring for treasure and stuff.
Well, here's
and
the question,
I don't know.
and I was going to bring this up earlier. They announced that the PlayStation 4 version of that, along with the PC version, is coming in 2016. So, me as a PlayStation gamer, and I own both consoles, but I'm probably the PlayStation player of the bunch here. Bad. I don't feel the need on November 10th to go pick up Tomb Raider. I want to play it. I think it's going to be great. But with this year being so packed full of games already, even if you take Sony's first party out of mix, which really all they've got is the Uncharted collection that's coming out.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I need Tomb Raider right now. I'm going to get Fallout that day. And my other question leading off of that is, do you think it's stupid for Microsoft and Square Enix to launch Tomb Raider on the exact day that Fallout 4 is?
They won't. They will delay that game till December.
It's going to push till the first week of December.
Yep.
Maybe right before Black Friday, the Tuesday before Black Friday.
Yeah, I honestly think that's the reason they've been kind of tight-lipped on that whole issue, because whenever we heard that Fallout 4 is coming on this day, and then everybody at Microsoft was like,
shit.
Because, like, that's one of their exclusives launch days, and I agree with that, because Fallout 4 is obviously going to top whatever day it sells, and I think if Phil Spencer's smart, they'll push back Tomb Raider at least a week or two for sure, because I mean, Tomb Raider has a very successful franchise, especially because they rebooted it and it's got a very loyal fan base. But Fallout 4
is Fallout 4.
It's Fallout 4. You just nothing is safe if you put it on the same day or even week of Fallout 4. Absolutely nothing is safe.
I mean, look at it's the same with Call of Duty as well. Even if they bumped it up a week or two, like if they bumped it up,
they run into COD.
2 weeks, they're fighting Halo. If they bump it up only 1 week, they're fighting Call of Duty.
And if you push it a week, you're fighting Battlefront.
Yeah.
See, if they
after it's Battlefront, it's screwed.
If they were smart, they'd push it up. They'd go to October.
Well, even
Oh, bring it in earlier.
October's busy.
Yeah.
Maybe not as busy.
October is busy. I think whoever said it December, I think that's a much smarter release. I think they should definitely keep it to December because it's right before Christmas, right before the holidays. You know, you've had several weeks of playing all the other games. You've delved into everything that you've had already, hopefully, so you can make some time to and actually invest in Tomb Raider. I feel like December is probably the best time frame for them.
What do you think about pushing it further, like January?
Because then they're up.
Because
Then they're up
holiday's
against
so
Uncharted.
busy.
You can't.
Like, how many games in November alone? Let's say they pumped it back to December.
This is
In November alone, Call of Duty, Fallout, and what's it called?
Battlefront.
Battlefront. Sorry, man, my brain's fried.
You're good.
Those three right there, especially if you buy like the deluxe editions, you're looking at a couple hundred. And with Black Friday happening the week before that, a lot of people are going to be broke. It's like, and it's also got competition on that day with Just Cause 3, and I think there's another one that's coming out on that first week as well.
Mhm.
I mean, it to me feels like if they were going to do it and they really wanted to compete, they should have put it in September. Like, the only
September.
big
That's
thing
when
in
Forza comes out
September-
and Metal Gear.
Yeah, but Forza is popular, but people that play racing games like that yearly may not be the same people that are going to pick up Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
And even if you count Forza and Metal Gear, that's two things to compete against, not the entire full length
Yeah.
of the holiday rush.
Or is the Destiny expansion coming out in September as well?
Comes out in September, yeah, the second week of September. I think the perfect slot for Tomb Raider is the Tuesday before Black Friday, because advertisements and all that, you can theme it around Thanksgiving, you know, be thankful for your family and all that, and then that's the ad that you put for Tomb Raider before it comes out on Tuesday. And then Xbox bundles, you put Tomb Raider in there. What's wrong on the Black Friday bundle for Xbox could be Gears of War bundle Xbox, and then Tomb Raider comes with it.
Or they
Easy
do
bundle right there. And then
they do
it's
the
after Battlefront, it's after Fallout, and then it's 2 weeks after Fallout. So people who have like burnt their load on Fallout, then playing Battlefront, who are excited for Tomb Raider, are gonna go buy Tomb Raider. And then you don't miss Black Friday. You don't miss that Black Friday hype.
True.
Yeah, it's hard to say. And they could be, and Square Enix and Microsoft could be brave and go, you know what? We're going to go up against Fallout anyway. I mean, I doubt it, but you never know. They could be ballsy enough to do that.
Yeah, because we're talking about how packed this October, November is, and I guess people are pretty quick to forget because 2014 was the same issue. October and November were so jam-packed, and then in the months leading up to it, you started steadily seeing, we're delaying. Everybody was moving their games out of October, and then October's lineup became very. It was quaint. There were several releases that month, but you know it wasn't as bad as it was going to be because there was going to be like over 20 different AAA titles, and I think we're going to see the same result. Is people going to delay, push back? Maybe not to the extent of like Batman, how they pushed it back a half a year, but I mean we're definitely going to see some delays for sure.
Like Dying Light, where like I think Warner Brothers will push Mad Max till like February. I think that's a game that could get pushed. Any like midway like games we're not talking about right now, games that we have to think about off the top of our head, like Mad Max, games you really have to think about that are hidden in there, are what'll be pushed to February.
Those B-tier games, is that what you're talking about? Like the stuff that...
Yeah, the stuff that like you see it on the list, you're like, oh hey, that's coming out, and then it probably won't be.
What you have to keep in mind is there's already a lot of stuff that's scheduled for February and March. Like, it's not a niche time frame anymore. That's a viable selling time frame.
Yeah, people saw the success of Dying Light when they came out in January because there was nothing in January. They sold like what was it, like 2 or 3 million copies in a month. It was phenomenal because it was a new IP for them, and they had already had some success with Dead Island, but Dying Light completely blew up, and they're still doing support even after they released all the DLC that they said they were going to do for their season pass. They're doing another expansion, which is completely story-driven, which is the whole map will be bigger than all of their DLC maps combined, and it's going to have drivable buggies. And just Dying Light has Techland has had so much success with that game. And they've got another one, Hellraid, coming out, which looks pretty cool too. It's a first-person medieval type thing with the same kind of combat and style. So, they're doing pretty good.
We need studios or publishers to release stuff in the summer because there's just nothing to play right now.
I know.
That's when crunch is. They'd have to have crunch in like spring and then release games in the summer.
Yeah, because summertime for the developer in the industry, that's when they start hitting out all the codes and the bugs, the issues that they still have left. Because they go gold somewhere either midsummer or start of summer or late summer, and then the months leading up, or even the weeks leading up to release, is all hashing out all the bugs. So.
I think summer they try to stay away from too, is that's probably the one time of the year that people try to get out of the house. Hey, let's go on a Disney vacation, or hey, let's go to the water parks, or golfing, or whatever sport you're interested in. A lot of people like getting out of the house at that point because a lot of people are out of school and don't have much going on. So I think that's a good reason why a lot of them are like, I don't know if I want to drop a game when everyone's going to be going on.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't have to be the biggest games of the year. But I mean, your smaller stuff, your Mad Maxes, your Tomb Raiders, the smaller stuff that isn't considered Fallout, a Fallout 4 level or Call of Duty level, can come out and be successful. I mean, it's because there's nothing else major coming out that the smaller games could do better than they may have normally because they're coming out at a time when there are 10 other games coming out that week that they're going to get swallowed up.
Smite and Elder Scrolls just blew up.
Yeah,
they are C tier, B tier games right there.
That's what I'm saying. So I mean, you can
play.
You can get those smaller titles and maybe get more success out of them, and then you can have more money to do a sequel if it's successful enough down the road. When it just seems to me make more sense to have it spaced out than opposed to we're going to give you 10 games in a 2-month period.
I think a lot of people need to start doing the E3. It's out here today. It's out next month, a month from today.
Yeah.
Way to go with games like that.
They do that a lot with betas and DLC, but I'm not sure about whole titles. That'd be kind of hard to coordinate with the supply line and the retails, and not it being leaked that a release date is on this day in particular, especially with as many leaks as this industry has these days with the internet and technology.
Yeah, I think what they'd have to do is do digital today, retail next week, something like that. They'd have to work out that kind of deal.
Yeah, but
at the same time, it's like what game is coming out in September, or I'm sorry, like July, that's worth someone leaking it out. Like, oh hey, Mad Max coming out in July, leak, cool.
Yeah, it seems to me that they need to figure something out because as soon as Madden hits in October or August, it's a mad sprint to the finish line for the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
So.
Let's see. Were there any other games that we hadn't touched on, or fall that you guys want to talk about at all?
I don't think so.
I mean, did we really talk about Halo 5 too much? Have we?
I mean, what details about Halo 5 that you know right now are you really big on? Because I feel like this is the biggest time where Halo's coming out where I know very little, but I know what I want from it.
It's a big list of information about it's going to be in Halo 5 that made me really, really excited. One of the biggest things is they're bringing in a lot of the lore from the books. Case in point, they're bringing in his Blue Team squad for the first time in the Halo game series, and I'm really, really excited about that. And if you read the books at all, you would be too. But if you didn't read the books, basically Blue Team is his Spartan squad that he trained with initially at boot camp, and from that point on, those were his squad mates on every mission throughout the war. And other than that, I mean, just 4-player co-op, drop in, drop out, and whenever your friends aren't there, your squad mates are still there in-game. That's cool because that's never been done before by the Halo franchise. And the reason why you know it's going to work, this squad-based combat, is because they've got
I don't know if you guys ever played Star Wars Republic Commando, because that was
Yeah,
a huge game
similar to
way
that.
back in the day.
That's
They've got
probably,
a
what it's most similar to. Their 4-player co-op.
because they have Tim Longo, creative director of Star Wars Republic Commando, who is the creative director of Halo 5's main campaign. That's how you know for sure the squad combat is going to be 100% stellar. And then they've got the multiplayer aspect of it. We've got the classic. They're going back to the classic arena style because we saw that with the beta and we played it. We loved it. Or at least I loved it. And then we saw at E3 they're trying to even expand upon what Halo is mostly known for, the big team fights with all the vehicles and the destruction and madness. And they're upping the ante with it being 24 total players, and then there's AIs in there that are actually hopefully intelligent, because Halo AIs are renowned for being intelligent. And vehicle-based combat, and just they've introduced a new aerial vehicle for the Forerunners, and just everything they're doing with Halo 5 is yes, 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 you should be doing this. Now, the only thing that I've heard about major complaints in the community has been the removal of split-screen co-op. Now, I was never a huge fan of that after Xbox Live became a thing, whenever you could just link up and you don't have to do that anymore, but for some reason we still have a community who loves doing split-screen co-op. And
Couch co-op and Halo go hand in hand. That's speaking as a.
I think that's outgrown. I think the community's outgrown the couch co-op.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, with the innovation that we've had with Xbox Live, there's absolutely no reason to be doing couch co-op anymore. I mean,
I think a big chunk of the people that are pissed about it are people like
The old
militaries
schoolers.
the older people, yeah.
The people that are overseas that want to just jump in on an Xbox.
Well,
sit on a
yeah,
TV
I guess I
over
can see
there.
that.
For instance, when I was over there, we had an Xbox 360 that we hooked up to 2 TVs because you could buy cheapo little TVs from the PX there. And on the random times we had free time, people would just load up and play Mortal Kombat. Didn't require internet or anything like that, but you had something you could play. And Halo was one of those things. We had Halo 3 out there playing on it, and Halo Reach and whatnot. So it's just something to be. It's nice to have the option for those people that don't have access to a constant internet connection.
Like I don't want to sound like Don Matrick, but they do have that option. It's the Master Chief Collection. I think their vision for Halo 5 isn't the 4-player LAN party multiplayer. They're going for the warfighter mode with the 24-24. They're going to go for the big battles. They're going to go for the arena modes that are like because they're trying to do the esport thing with the 5-on-5 there, which we saw in the beta. I think they're focusing more on online with the multiplayer there. And yeah, it could be a gamble, but I think a lot of people are going to forget about it when they see how fun it is and how great it is.
Yeah, also, I think a part of it is that people don't necessarily have a whole lot of faith in 343 and making sure their multiplayer is going to work. Because you had the Master Chief Collection, and that was a disaster. So this multiplayer better work, or people are going to revolt.
Well, see, whenever people say that, I always get so worked up because there's a number of variables as to why that was a huge disaster, and if we have a moment, I can talk about it. The reason why Master Chief Collection was such an abysmal launch was because they had a 2-year time frame, and in those 2 years, they were already working on Halo 5, and at some point in those 2 years, somebody at Microsoft said, hey, let's remaster Halo 2 for 10-year anniversary, which they were already going to do, I'm sure. And they said, why don't we up the ante and put all of the Halo games on the Xbox One? And he's like, okay, we've got 2 years to do this. So then they've got 2 years of not only having to completely remaster a game, they have to outsource ports of the other games so other people can up-res them and up-frame rate them and then port them to the console while they're mainly dedicated to that. And they had multiplayer completely outsourced to another team, which is why that was that way it was. And then servers, I mean, there was just so much they had to do in 2 years that it was impossible to do something like that and expect it to launch properly. And they knew going in on that night, if you go back and watch videos of launch night, they're all so excited. They've got the game faces on. Every single one of those people knew, without a doubt, this was going to be the worst launch ever for them. And they knew. going into it that it was broken. And I just don't know what anybody on the corporate side was expecting from a rushed release of 2 years, and then still having to continue work on Halo 5 as well on top of that. I mean, there's just a number of variables as to why that launched the way it did.
Oh, I'm not. I'm not saying that there weren't problems from Microsoft and whoever, but I'm just saying whether it be the 343 team or Microsoft proper or whoever, that game needs to be perfect.
Yeah, and we saw with the beta of Arena that the multiplayer functions for it, the servers were good. And we also saw with the Gears beta just about a month or two back that the Azure servers, they function correctly. You can have a 1080 60 frame multiplayer that functions 100% properly with very little issues. So I mean, I don't have a doubt in my mind that Halo 5 is going to launch proper with all the experience they've had in the past year dealing with these issues.
Yeah, it's their servers are running one game instead of running 4 at the same time. Like, you're not going to get overclocked like that. I think if they want to do something really cool at Gamescom, they could say for next weekend there's going to be a Halo 5 beta, and it's going to be open to Xbox if they wanted to do that.
Yeah, I really strongly think, or I strongly feel that they need to have a beta for Warzone, an open public beta for Warzone, because we got a taste of the arena combat, and then nobody except people who've gone to conventions have been able to play the Warzone game mode. I just feel like that's silly.
They should let us do it just to test the AI, just to see how the AI works.
And a server stress test too, as well as that.
You gotta think they're gonna have some sort of a new beta coming out with them coming to Gamescom and them having center stage because no one else is gonna be there. So I mean, you gotta think they're gonna say, here's a beta for whatever multiplayer, and mainly to test those servers and to whet people's appetites. Because I'm excited for the game.
For Gamescom is 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. If they launched a beta that day and say, here it is, you'd be waking up to a beta for your Xbox.
Yeah, and just have it go out to everybody. Just have the invite. If you have a gold account, here's the invite.
Down the messages, and hopefully it won't be a little bit of a disaster message out like they did with the Gears beta. Because the Gears beta, I couldn't actually even redeem my code until like the end of the day.
They had 2 codes.
Yeah, I know there were 2 codes, but my problem was I couldn't even redeem the first one to get the game to install, let alone redeem it to actually activate my game. Because I got the message I remember this because I was so pissed about it. I got the message around 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon. I was not able to redeem successfully and actually start installing the Gears beta until around 11 p.m. that night. And then sometime overnight, I got my second code to activate it, and so when I woke up, I activated it and started playing the beta. But I mean, they just need to handle it better. They need to properly test their servers before they do that, because they broke Xbox Live when they did that. The Gears beta coming out. Like, I don't know if you guys remember that whole day, Xbox Live just shit all over itself.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
It was bad. It was really bad. So, and here's a game that's going to be at Gamescom that we haven't even brought up. Quantum Break, for sure. It's going to be their #1 focus at Gamescom is Quantum Break.
Oh, I also think Crackdown's going to be on that list because they're going to have a playable demo.
Yeah, that too. But I just mean because the guys at folks at Remedy, they skipped E3, and because it's easier for them because they're in Europe, they can just go right over there to Cologne, Germany, and 2, they wanted to have some more fresh information and save it for Gamescom. Because Microsoft has stopped treating Gamescom like it's just a second E3. They're treating it like it is its own thing. It is Gamescom. They're trying to give it the respect it deserves. And I feel like that's another reason how Sony might be messing up a little bit, how they're just completely going to skip Gamescom. I think that's just...
And they're treating Gamescom as if it's a worldwide E3. Their first-party lineup's diverse. Scalebound's a Japanese developer.
Mm-hmm.
Quantum Break's a European developer.
Mm-hmm.
Rise of the Tomb Raider, Halo, that's her US, and that broadens everyone because that just shows what the power of Gamescom compared to E3, which everyone says it's been bigger than E3 for the past 5 years.
Yeah, Gamescom has just been blowing up, and Gamescom is... Sony should respect it more because of how it is.
Well,
I don't think Sony has anything to put out at Gamescom.
Well,
I agree with you.
And Sony's going to be there. They're just not going to have a stage show. Nintendo's going to be there. They're just not going to have a stage show. Microsoft's doing a big stage presentation because they've got stuff to show. But it's not that the other two are skipping it. It's just they're not having a big stage presentation.
Microsoft has more to lose by not putting out what they have at every showing they can. Let's take into effect that yes, Microsoft isn't exactly in #1 spot right now. So PS4 is outselling it.
Yeah, they're chasing PS4.
I mean,
They're down 5 million units.
Exactly. However, look in Europe specifically. Sony is beating the hell out of them, and Xbox has to make a big splash in Europe to pull people over. We already know
but
Microsoft's never going to win Japan, so they've kind of backed off.
Nobody's going to win Japan because they're so mobile focused. Nobody's going to win Japan.
You got to win China. You got to win China.
This year is Microsoft's to lose, and I believe that wholeheartedly. They could bridge the gap with the lower price and the games. People like me are still going to buy stuff on PlayStation. Me, it's more for convenience. If I had a way of buying another Xbox and putting it upstairs, and I had the room, I would have bought Fallout on there, and I would have gotten more, even out my games and done more on Xbox, but it just isn't possible for me right now. But this is Microsoft. Microsoft has to get back in this because if they get too far behind, actually, let's just say it this way: if Sony can beat them this year with Microsoft pumping out backwards compatibility and exclusives and this, indie-centric focus that they've been pulling out and just doing everything they can and making the right moves, then there's no way in hell they're ever going to. There's no way. If Sony can just sit back and go for almost 2 years at this point, the only exclusives really they had last year was Drive Club, and that was a tragic mess. I mean,
Bloodborne.
Yeah, well, Bloodborne was this year, and that was great.
But that's
They're sitting on their third-party partnership.
What?
They're sitting on their third-party partnerships. Last year's exclusive for Sony was Destiny, exclusive, and then this year it's Call of Duty and Battlefront. They're trying to sit on their third parties.
But in general, they've kind of washed their hands and just said, we're fine. And so far, they've been selling and selling and selling and selling. If Microsoft hits this year with this many exclusives and all of this,
I'm doing something. Let me come to you. I'll be right back, guys.
But I think this year's the turn of the tide for them. This is the year that they turn around. It's impossible that Sony would outsell the Xbox. If it does, then something's very wrong. Very wrong in Microsoft, and they need to turn it around.
All of the extra stuff about backwards compatibility and all the games, they still outsold Xbox, or PlayStation still outsold Xbox, and it's been consistent. They need a major, kick in the butt. And maybe Halo was that. Maybe Forza has that. I doubt it's Forza.
I think a lot of people are underestimating the Windows 10 tie-in, too. I think a lot of people are going to get Windows 10 on their computers and then see how it works with Xbox, that it's another device. I think that could be a system seller, too.
I'm just saying, if they don't do it this year, if they somehow they just can't pull it out from underneath, pull the rug out from underneath PlayStation, I don't see it happening, especially with early 2016 with Uncharted, and I want to say there was another couple things they had coming down the pipeline. But once we get closer to Horizon and some of that other stuff, and whatever they finally announce what the hell their other studios are doing, at that point it's too late.
Yeah, I don't know I don't think. How do I say this? I don't think it's a matter of Microsoft beating Sony. I don't know if it's Yeah, they want to sell consoles and they want to sell units, but I think a lot of it is that Sony has the mind share, just like Microsoft did with the 360. They're putting all their money into advertising. So when you saw Destiny ads, you saw it on, oh, I want to play Destiny, so I'm gonna get a PlayStation. So it's I think what Microsoft needs to do to change that is to put some of the third-party marketing dollars that Sony is, get some, go back to what they were doing with the 360, and still have a strong exclusive lineup, but also push it so so when you see whatever big game coming, whatever big third-party title coming out,
associate Xbox with that title.
right? Exactly.
Yeah, and I think some other factors that attribute to Sony winning so handily as of right now, even when they have nothing out, is because I guarantee you there's still people out there in the world who don't that still think that the 2013 presentation of Xbox, everything that they said about the Xbox, there's still people out there who believe that is what the Xbox still is. Because I've spoken to somebody who still said, don't you always have to have your Xbox on? I'm like, no. Like, but I thought you always had to have it online. I'm like, no. And then you see horror stories on the internet about GameStop employees who are like lying to parents about the Xbox, so they'll go and buy a PlayStation because there's back market or backdoor deals with retailers. The more units they sell, the more money they're gonna make from Sony, and just stuff like that. And I just feel like Xbox messed up so big when they let Don Matrick open his big stupid mouth and just spew all of this nonsense for months and months. He was just spewing, and it's ridiculous. Because you can go back to...
We have a console for you, and it's called the Xbox 360. What?
Yeah, and when people say, what about backwards compatibility? We don't want to talk about backwards compatibility, because here at Microsoft, that's backwards thinking. What? Just...
Let me
all of the
throw something
things
out there on what you said. You said that technically the Xbox is not an always online system.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried playing your games when Xbox Live is out?
Yes,
and
I have.
PlayStation Network. It drives me insane.
I know there's certain games that will not function without it, but there are certain games that will. Like I have a number of games I play when Live is down. Like Metro.
It depends on what you're playing as far as always online goes. I think Tomb Raider is a perfect example of a game you don't need to be online for.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. If you purchase it and it's a digital download, it's locked unless you're connected. Period.
Really? I don't have that issue.
Well, fine. Maybe I'm screwing myself in the pooch by saying this, but on the PlayStation, when PSN was down, most of my games are digital. All of them have a little lock symbol on them.
Really? Wow. See, yeah, and that's a thing. That's another thing that is there, and people don't notice it because it's not flaunted. I should say flaunted. Is the whole always online thing? Oh, that's such a big deal. Like, oh, but like, okay, like you said, there's already problems where if you're not online, you can't play your games. And two, who in the world owns one of those machines and is not always connected to the internet? And if not, like if their internet is down or whatever, they're trying their hardest to get back connected. Because every person I know is always online when they're playing.
Who need Halo 5 to have split screen.
Exactly. It's the people who want their split screen, couch co-op, like, oh, people like that. They're a dying breed in the gaming community because nobody does that anymore. Because, you've got the internet, you've got always online. Like, I don't know. I think that's silly. And
well, here's the other thing. How often is Live down? I mean, that's got to be the most stable.
This week it was down twice.
It was kind of
Hiccups the better. It hiccups for like 5 hours or so. And on Microsoft's side, it's the Windows 10 launch. I'll give them.
Yeah. This week has been a bit of a hiccup for Live, but other than that,
it's got to be
to go down
every other day.
No. To me, it happens maybe several times within a couple weeks, and then it stops for like 6 months, and then it hits hard.
Microsoft?
And gets angry again.
No, PSN.
PSN.
I'm actually worried about this winter. Are we going to have another Lizard Squad
situation?
both consoles.
I actually laughed about that because they attacked Microsoft and Sony, and then Microsoft was back up like that, and I was playing Xbox. I was like, okay, whatever, this shouldn't faze me. Because like I was playing whenever people were reporting that Xbox Live was down. I was like, really, it's down? Like I'm in a party and I'm playing Halo. Okay. And it didn't really affect me that much, but I know Sony had a lot of my PlayStation friends were having huge issues whenever that hit. And I was feeling for them pretty strong.
They definitely need to invest some more money in their
security and firewall protection.
Well, I've heard things that Sony completely needs to make a new architecture for their online.
Yeah.
Where it's time for a completely new online architecture.
Yeah, because when you see stuff like that happen with their online entertainment studios and their video production, side of that, where they all got hacked and all those employees lost all their information, and I don't know, Sony has just had a really, really, really bad history with being hacked and all these different things happening. You know, if you harken back to a few years ago when they had all those credit cards and debit cards, account information stolen. I mean, I've never had an issue like that up to that magnitude with Microsoft, but Sony just seems to have a really bad track record in terms of their online stuff being just destroyed by hackers. So they, like you said, they just
Sony added their network services after the fact. The Xbox One was built with the idea of Xbox Live in mind. The system architecture was built for it. They built the servers by they pioneered it based off of the work from SegaNet, from the failed Dreamcast.
Oh, when they launched Live back in the day, yeah.
They built this from the ground up, where Sony kind of tiptoed into it with the PS2 a little bit, with that piece of shit add-on that no one really ever used.
Yeah.
And then PS3, they came in late to the game. I remember the first time I jumped on the PSN on the original fat PS3, I was like, fuck this, I'm going back to Xbox. I mean, you couldn't find parties that well. I mean, they've had to add in things that Xbox has had from the beginning, and they had a head start, so it's just time for them to take all this money they've gotten from the PlayStation 4 and put it into PSN and update it and get it up to the level it needs to. Because the one thing that might tip the scales in Microsoft's favor is if Sony keeps screwing up with hacks and downtime and stuff like that, people won't care if Call of Duty has the maps first on PlayStation. They'll go and play on Xbox and just wait for the maps.
Yeah, but you also have to keep in mind, Sony proper isn't the most solvent right now. Only thing making money for them is PlayStation. Sony as a whole is
they're not doing so hot.
In serious concern of folding.
Yeah, if you look at their financial records and if you look at them every fiscal year, it's just been going downhill for them. The only thing making money for them right now, like you said, is PlayStation.
Yeah, because no one's buying their TVs. No one's buying no one,
Yeah, I had a choice between a Samsung and a Sony when I bought my new TV. I was like, I'm gonna buy a Samsung, like quality TV, and also it'd feel a little strange playing Xbox on a Sony TV. Just saying. We were talking about the online architecture for PlayStation. I feel like another reason, like you said, why Microsoft has such a strong history and background with this, and why they're doing so well, is because this is a software company. Tried and true. They started as software, and they've obviously delved into hardware, with their computers and their tablets and phones, and obviously the Xbox. But they're still primarily a software company. They know how to handle their software and the servers and everything, and that's why I think anybody who underestimates Xbox, at least the success and the things that they can do, will just be based on the first 2 years of sales records. I think is very limiting their way of thinking, and the fact that we've got stuff like DX12. Which won't necessarily directly affect Xbox, but it will with the streaming and stuff like that. And then you've got the fact that they were able to create backwards compatibility, which if you actually delve into the engineering specifics about it, is very, very difficult thing to do, especially when the whole architecture is different. And they just with stuff like HoloLens 2 as well, like that's crazy stuff too. And just Xbox Live, the whole UI being completely redone this fall. In accordance with if you saw on at E3, I mean, I don't know. Anybody who underestimated Xbox should really be eating their hat right now because they're doing everything right. They're not doing anything wrong right now.
Yeah, the same thing. Also, Microsoft doesn't necessarily need Xbox to be, because I mean, I think right now I think Microsoft or Xbox doesn't necessarily make money from Microsoft.
Not
They're
as much.
making they're making money off Windows and that being on everything. So I mean, they can afford to have be a bit more risky with Xbox. They can take a bigger leap than what Sony can, because Sony is surviving off of PlayStation right now.
And like you said, that's another reason why they're still able to keep innovating the way they are, because Microsoft can take a hit of 2 years of their Xbox brand not necessarily doing as well as they would like and not making them as much money as they would like, and they can keep going and just keep being better and better and better because they have all of this other income coming in all over the world from all of their
they've got something like what, $5 billion cash just sitting in bank accounts around the world.
Yeah. Every fiscal year they just have over $4 billion in extra money just sitting that they don't do anything with. They just stockpile it and
just have cash. That should be a good problem to have.
And Sony, for obvious reasons, because of their financial troubles and their other markets, do not have that much money just sitting around, lying around, and they can't afford to take a beating with their console, and that's why they invested so heavily. Like, if you go back and you read about stuff for the 2013 E3, if you actually research, Sony's outlook on the PlayStation was completely identical to Xbox's in every way, almost every way, and how they're going to handle the always online, the policies with the DRM, etc. However, since they have an evening show and Microsoft has a morning show, they had about roughly 10 to 12 hours to completely rewrite their show, completely rewrite how they're going to handle their console. And even if at that particular moment in time, if they said something was going to be on their console and it wasn't actually at that physical moment true, it was true by launch, and that's how they were able to turn around on a dime and make so much money with PlayStation, because they saw the gamer outrage at Microsoft, and they took advantage of that. And that's the only reason they're still afloat right now, is because of that. And I really feel like the rest of Sony's markets need to take a hint from that and learn how to innovate and take advantage of situations like that in the market, because they're not doing so well. And I'm actually scared for Sony because of that, I mean, we could go 10, 20 years from now if because PlayStation can only keep them afloat for so long until everybody has one, and you can't run a business off of game sales. We could go 10, 20 years from now, we won't have a Sony, we won't have a PlayStation. That's a scary thought for the industry.
Yep. So, yeah, I guess that's going to do it for this show tonight. You can find us all on Gaming Sauce putting up our content. Next week is Gamescom, so that's going to be the big coverage. That'll be the big topic for next week's podcast. Starting on Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern, you'll start seeing coverage from us. I'll be up, ready to go to this conference from Microsoft, and we'll all churn out coverage for whatever we want to be talking about.
Yeah, I'll certainly be up to watch the live broadcast from Microsoft, and I can report on all that stuff.
Absolutely.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. And for everything you need to know, keep it on GamingSauce.com.
See ya.
See ya.